Hi everyone, are you ready for week 2 of Insider Movies October edition? I am. But before we get there, I want to talk to you just a little bit about last week's, and I want to give you some good Hollywood insider dirt. So I have learned since last week's Insider Movies week 1 October edition, I have learned that some film schools have gotten involved with our Insider Movies series, and that is wonderful. That's exciting because I didn't make that for film schools, but that's because I just wasn't thinking about it, but it makes perfect sense. It's wonderful. And also there's a little tidbit that I want to get out of the way. So let's get that tidbit out of the way. Last week I said that I waited in line 6 hours for Star Wars 1, and I guess 60% of you understood that I meant that meant episode 1. And 30% of you, at least so far from the feedback I've gotten from the digging I've done, 30% of you thought I meant the very first Star Wars. So let me just clarify that. And normally I wouldn't because it doesn't really matter. Most things that happens with YouTube and things like that, except this has to do with Star Wars. And the very first Star Wars, which is technically episode 4, was incredibly groundbreaking. I've talked about it already, and it is absolutely phenomenal. It's on our list. It will be done. And I cannot let that pass by because I did not mean that I waited in 6 hours for the very first release of Star Wars Episode 4. Like, no, I wasn't even born yet. It was released in 1975. I wasn't even born yet. I'm a little disturbed that 30% of you thought I was referring to a movie I couldn't have even been born yet. I'm disturbed that you thought I was old enough to choose to wait in line and made a decision. Because even if you thought that I had been born at that time, even if you thought I'd been born at that time, I mean, I would have had to be an infant and you thought I made the decision anyway. So for those of you who just didn't know it was released in 1975 and you thought maybe a movie that old had been released, maybe 20, 30 years later, okay, maybe I'll give it to you. But I think most people know it was released a super long time ago. So all I have to say to those people is, since 30%, I think it's proof that your mom might have been right about marijuana use at a young age. There's a reason doctors don't prescribe marijuana at a young age. It does mess up your brain. Tom Petty just died. We are losing people at a rapid rate. It's not meant for use at a young age. It messes up your brain, and things like this happen where 30% of people are like, oh, she wasn't born yet, but of course she waited 6 hours in line for the very first Star Wars. I'm sorry. I know I don't look that old. I am not assuming I look that old. I do not look like I'm 80 years old. Nope, not buying it. Not buying it. And if I do, again, if I look 80 years old to you, then again, proof that maybe your mom was right about that marijuana use. So if you really need marijuana, please use CBD oil. CBD hemp oil. Use that. Better for you. Moving on, next part, film schools. So glad that you are with us, and it's a really good idea. Now, people have asked me to name the film schools, and that actually brings up this is the Hollywood dirt I'm going to share with you guys. So if you guys are like, get to the movies, let me promise you this is good dirt. So, because I've been wanting to share this for a while, and I was like, where am I going to fit it in? And I'm going to fit it in here. So this is good dirt. So why don't I share names? Why don't I share the name of my friend or the name of my friends? Look, you guys, how do you think I got those friends? And I don't know why they aren't teaching this in film school. The way you move up the ranks in Hollywood, haven't you noticed in Hollywood very few people move up the ranks? There's not a lot of new young people up in Hollywood that are really reaching the echelon of Scorsese and things like that. Why do you think that is? It seemed to be the surge up until the 90s, and then it's just kind of not moved along. And I'm going to tell you why that is. And there is one, even a music artist, it's Beyonce and Rihanna, and all those guys came up a long time ago, you guys. The only new artist that has really come up that's huge and stayed up is basically Taylor Swift and Adele, but both Taylor Swift and Adele follow the rules I'm about to give you. The rules that they follow is they don't name names I know that you guys are embedded in this social world of like sharing names. God, I feel like I'm not even supposed to be sharing this with you almost. So I'm just going to keep it short. You guys, like, that is the kiss of death. You can't, like, just look at Taylor Swift's feed. Like, when she names names, she's naming the names. Like, either she's doing a promotional for other artists, and she rarely does it, right? Or she rarely tweets, and she's tweeting out names of fans. Otherwise, she's not naming out other producers. She's very rarely doing it. Like, the one time she did something like that was at the Grammys. She wanted to win Grammy of the Year. She sat down with the producers. I highly recommend that series, by the way. Maybe I'll link it below. But that was for a very small thing. It was very specific, and that's what they were asking her to do, was name, and all that she was the people and artists on that album, and she only named the 2 other men that were working in the room with her on that album, and they were going to name on the album anyway. That's a big thing in the industry, you guys. You cannot get in. If you go around talking name, you can't do it. You can't. It's not going to get you anywhere. I swear to God, if I were to go naming, I would lose all of my friends if I went sharing it on YouTube. I'd lose them all because I break their trust. It is because that is the one thing, and you would understand it too if you were of celebrity status. Like, God, I almost started tearing up. If they were to tell someone, like, if they were to do that to me, I'd be so upset. Like, if they did that, if they did that, if someone, like, I know it's like, it just happened recently at an award show, like, and they didn't break, and I was so grateful. Like, they didn't do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's essential. Like, that's essential. It's when you get to a certain status, their privacy is everything. You have to understand that. Like, that's all they have. So much of their lives are in the public. They give away almost everything that they are. And I know for you guys, you want to be seen. Like, I know that for so many people, they want to be seen. They're dying to be heard. But for a lot of celebrities, they are almost a commodity. The studios use them like a commodity, and they're sold off, and they feel like a commodity. So much of them is out there that they're just holding on. Look at the interviews that you see of, like, they've done documentaries on it. So anyway, I'm getting off. We should get back to October movies. But I'm saying, like, that's why I would never, you're not going to see me do that here. You're just not, you know, and it's, if that's what you're looking for, I'll give you the dirt and stuff like that, but I'll never break a confidence. And so anyway, so I am welcoming, the last thing I want to share before I move on is, I was talking to one of the professors of the film schools, and we were talking, and I asked them, you know, why, because they were like, we never thought about these movies. Because I was like, why are you having them share? Like, why are you sharing these insider movie series? Like, you know, why do you think that these are movies you're not sharing already? And we were talking about it together, and actually we stumbled across it together. Like, we were talking, and then I actually figured it out. I was like, oh my God, you're sharing the people. You're sharing the people. You're sharing based on people. You're not sharing based on the movies, the quality of the movies based on the people. Like, they're sharing based on Scorsese, or they're based on Ron Howard. And yeah, our list has some Scorsese films on it. Like, our list has Raging Bull on it, but it has Raging Bull on it because of what's in Raging Bull. It's not in it because it's in Scorsese. I mean, obviously I taught about Scorsese, but I'm not like, here, let's watch every Scorsese movie. I am like, look at the content of the movie, because that's how directors look at it. When directors are in a room and they're talking, that's how they think. They're like, I love this movie because of this and this angle and this angle. They're thinking movies. And that's what's happened, is because the media thinks that way. They think people. They're into the celebrity of the directors. And so film schools have kind of gotten on that track. And film students, you know, you've done it too. You've gotten into the celebrity track. And so you think in terms of the people, but you've lost sight of the films. And that's just where this series is really going to help, because this series focused on the films. So why don't we get back to the films? All right, I love you guys, and stay off that marijuana if you're young. If you're young. So if your mind is still developing, and your mind, studies have shown your mind is still developing until you're 25. Girls, your boobs are probably still going to grow until you're 25, so don't worry about it. And don't get boob enhancements. I tell you right now, as a girl with big boobs, it's going to hurt your back. None of those girls tell you that, and men look at you differently. Just saying. Maybe I'll do a video on that someday. I can just feel a collective sigh of all the men going, no, don't give that advice. I guess you'll just have to send this video to all your haters then. I guess so. I guess so. All right. I love you guys. Enjoy. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Insider Movies, week 2 of the Halloween October 2017 edition. I am so excited to be with you. I have 3 movies with you this week. 1 family, 1 suspense, and 1 horror/scary movie. So as I told you last week, I'll put the link up here for you. So as I told you last week, this was a very, very carefully picked out list, and I'm very excited to share it with you. So let's get going, shall we? So, and if you are new to this series, you've got to watch the last week's. You've got to watch last week's for the Halloween to find out what's going on, because there's a lot of information that I gave you there. A lot of information. There are honorable mentions and all that kind of stuff. You just got to see that one. So definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. So rewind a little bit and get the link. Get the link. Get the link. Oh, and I'll include it in the description below too. So, and give this thumbs up while you're at it. So, all right. So week 2, we are on to, oh my gosh, one of the best movies of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters, Bill Murray. Love of my life, Bill Murray. He and I have a relationship. Secret relationship. Bet you didn't know that. Romantic relationship with Bill Murray. Yes, I do. Ghostbusters has Sigourney Weaver in it, who you already met through Aliens 2 weeks ago. So it was a smash out hit. Now, if you are young and didn't see the first one and you just saw the reboot was, there are no words to express what the reboot was. It just, pretend that was just another movie and another movie series. Just forget it. You got to see this movie, and just, you will be like, what the heck? It's just a different movie altogether. Now, the special effects are a little kitsch because it was, but you have to understand, for that time, those special effects were really, really like out of this world for the time. For that time, in that era, it's kind of like Star Wars. When Star Wars was like, well, you can kind of see the cutouts in Star Wars when you see the older versions, and you can see the cutouts of the little the fighters going through the air. That's because it was an older movie, but it was like super ahead of its time when it came out. Now, Ghostbusters was the same way. Like, people were blown away when slime came out. Like, it was just, I cannot talk, words cannot express the cultural phenomenon that was Ghostbusters. It just, words can't express it. And there are going to be, if you watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with us, you will already know some of the actors in this movie. And you will see, remember when I said that they're big stars? You will see they were big freaking stars. This just, it went on to have a second reboot, and they wanted to, it just, okay, I can't, I'm losing my words. And so I better just, if I'm speechless, that tells you something. I'm speechless. Okay? Okay. That's a family friendly one. Ghostbusters, I'm speechless. Though it may be a PG-13, so check it out with your kids. Parents might want to see it first. But that is definitely family friendly. It is not, yeah. So it's funny because when I was a kid, I saw it and I was just kind of like, I did not understand why Bill Murray's character was like got the girls and stuff like that. Like, why he was the lead, and why he was like this sex symbol and stuff like that. And I didn't get it as a little kid, and now I'm like, I totally get it. Like, I totally get it. Yeah. I'm like, oh. And that's before he did all the cool movies, so I don't even want to hear it. So, yeah. He's mine, so don't all you women try to, no. Suspense, The Birds. Now, we had a few arguments, my group and I, over Alfred Hitchcock. The Birds was done by Alfred Hitchcock. And I remember even when I was a kid, it was years later after The Birds, and still talking about it, still big. And this is the thing, is when analog switched over to digital, there was a huge pushback from the analog community to push to digital. They didn't want digital, they didn't want things that were analog. They didn't want film turning into digital because digital was so easily shared. They could just lose their money. It could be just copied and copied so easily. But what happened is so many people were like, great, that means we can just take the digital market, make our own things, and then that'll be shared. And then they ended up making a ton of crap and just sharing it everywhere. And then people got used to that. And before they knew it, the analog people are like, but wait, they got left in the dust. And a lot of digital, like a lot of film just got left in the dust because the analog people still to this day, I meet die-hard directors who will not allow their films to be released. We have films on the list, on the big list that I showed you back in, I'll include the link up here. There are films on that huge list that I have tried to watch with the group over and over and over and over, and they're not available to rent. And when I have my people check, like I'm like, give them a call. And it's because some stupid like studio director or studio owner or director themselves or owner will not let it go. They're like, no, they don't want it on digital. They don't want it to be, because they're like, oh, it can be copied, it can be shared, it can be put on YouTube. And what happens anyway? Someone takes it from DVD, and what happens every single time? We end up going on YouTube and watching it on YouTube for free when we were willing to pay for it. I would rather pay for a movie because it deserves to be paid for. Everyone deserves to be paid for their work. So, Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. So what happened is when getting back on to where I was, when all that transition was happening and so much was being pushed back, and digital was just going big, all these other people just started spreading their stuff. It drowned out, we lost the history. We lost a huge amount of history. And so culture, like the internet drowned out what used to be, like it drowned out a lot of cultural things. A lot, like when you watch The Wiz, do you see what I'm saying? How many things when you watched it, how shocked were you, right? How shocked were you? How much is lost? How much is lost? How one note are things now? And that's what I mean, is that like cultural, like there has just been this cultural white noise. And one of the things that got lost was this just like knowledge of The Birds and knowledge of Alfred Hitchcock and his things. And I know that HBO just did a thing on The Birds and they did it, and it was a terrible movie. It was a terrible movie, though I did ask around and I found out that is how she was treated on set, which devastates me but doesn't surprise me because women were treated like objects, and now they're starting to be objects again today, as you can see in Insider Movies 5. But it was a horrible movie, horrible acting, and terrible, and HBO, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to say things I shouldn't say. So anyway, but that's the movie it was based on, but the movie itself, classic and scary, and hell no, I haven't seen it. I'm not stupid. But I remember in the second grade, I lived in an inner city, and all the kids had seen it. All the kids had seen it in an inner city where I was only white girls, and all the kids had seen an Alfred Hitchcock film. Like, that is how, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be just well known. Like, it just used to be cultural phenomenon, and everywhere you went, like Alfred, it's not just all of his films, but The Birds especially. And that's why we included on this list, because I was like, well, he does North by Northwest and this and this and this. But The Birds, like The Birds is the one that like really, like, forget HBO and what they did in the story behind it. The Birds, there's a reason they chose that movie, because The Birds it was just this freaky old scary like movie or whatever. It's just really twisted and stuff like that. So, and there's all these like, I would hear about the scenes like in elementary school, and all the kids just loved it. So I don't know. I don't, it's just one of those, It needs to be seen. It just needs to be seen. So there, if you know that movie, you'll be in. Like, let me tell you, you'll be in. So, you'll be in. I'm giving you gold right there with that one. So, scary movie. We're here. We're here. Yay! The one scary movie I've seen. Well, besides The Omen, which I am not including. Dang it. You can go see it if you want to. Never, ever, ever let your kids see that movie, especially if you take them to church. Don't let them see it. I still have nightmares about that movie. So, but the original, of course, not the remake. Oh, Julia. Oh, Julia. Poltergeist. So we are here. We're finally at Poltergeist. And I saw Poltergeist on Halloween, at a Halloween party, when I was in junior high, finally, and I can handle it, and it's because my friends very well prepared me for it. They let me know what was up. They said, hey, and basically, it's like the effects, they were like, the effects are just, they're not believable at all. You'll be okay. The effects aren't believable. They prepared me for everything, and the guy that I was close to held my hand, and I handled it just fine, and like, they just told me everything. They got me ready. And it was a really well done movie. And I loved it. Haven't seen it since. I will watch it again this Halloween with you guys. I will do that. But I know I can handle it. So it is, but it is essential. Like, it is essential. Like, it is like, I feel like it's the mother of all horror movies. Like, it was the birth mother almost. You know, like, it's just kind of like the Inception or something. I don't know. It's very, what else? Another speechless one. Dang. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm speechless again. What more can I tell you? For those of you guys who know my series, I'm not usually speechless. Like, I'm not usually done at 12:38. No. So you just have to see these movies. We will have a great time together, and they are essential, and you will reap the benefits. That's what I can promise you. I guess that's what it is that, gosh, we're on week 2. I can't imagine when it's going to be. I guess I'm just going to, by week 4, my video will be like this. See these movies. If this is by week 2. I mean, Ghostbusters and The Birds and Poltergeist. If you guys have seen these movies, or if you're in the industry, you know. Like, this is it's amazing. What a great October we're having. Woo! Have fun, you guys. Bye-bye. For all of you who are into the insider movies, I have never explained to you why I'm on my couch. Like, I got some questions like, why are you on your couch in these insider movies? And I never explained that to you in my insider movie series. I explained it on my other videos. So let me explain it for you here. I am disabled. All 4 sections of my spine are damaged, and just a whole bunch of other things, unfortunately. So there are other videos where you can watch that. Today is like a really good day, which is why I'm filming a bunch in this shirt for other videos, because I'm rarely able to sit up. So usually, I've said this in other videos, I film a bunch of videos, all the videos that I can if I'm actually able to sit up. So that's why I'm doing it this way. When you see me on the couch, it's simply because I am not able to actually sit up. So that's why I'm in the couch. It's not because of any other reason. It's not because I'm lazy. It's just because my spine doesn't allow me to sit up. So, and that is just fine. I have a really good attitude about it. I've lived a million lives, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And I have an incredible support system. I have friends, and I have a family that loves me, and I'm very, very lucky. And now I have you guys. I am the luckiest girl in the world. Bye, guys. See you at the movies.